was an LZ over there. We put in 401 Battalion, which was a Ranger battalion, had 742 soldiers in it. We put them in early on during the exercise. We got ready to, Brown was their fire support base. They got overrun several times. We got ready to take those guys out. They had been kicked off of Brown, had lost everything. They were down by a little river below Brown, below an escarpment. We've been emergency extraction. There were 36 people alive out of the 742 men battalion. All of them were wounded, out of ammo. Many of them didn't even have weapons. Had one radio. We talked earlier about Brandt. The 101st and even our guns almost all day had been out there firing around these guys. They were completely surrounded, and it became a focal point, so to speak. And we talked with our three, and myself and 4 of the aircraft. We're going to take 5 aircraft and go in and get these guys. They planned an arc light to go in within 1,000 meters, because there was a 37 millimeter and a 23 millimeter just to the northwest of that location of where they were. I mean, pretty close, within a couple of clicks. Well, the arc light, we waited and we waited. We took off from Khe Sanh, and we were about 6,500 feet. And when the arc light went in, and it went within 400 meters of them. That's extremely close for a B-52 strike. But it silenced the 37 and 23 millimeter. Brandt was a captain in the 101st, one of their Cobra pilots. He and another pilot, name escapes me right now. And I was the lead aircraft on the lift, because of, we were so high, we never really identified, it was a hover hole where they were, exactly where they were. Well, then the arc light went so close to them, and there was so much smoke, and you wanted to get in as quickly after those arc lights as you could. There was so much smoke and haze that it just further complicated, and it was just like half mile visibility. Brandt called me. General Barry was up flying CNC, and Brandt called me on the radio, interrupted. He said, "I know exactly where they are," and he had completely expanded around them. And I heard that radio call just prior to the B-52 strike. The little Vietnamese on the ground, the English speaker, he said, gave his call sign. He said, "We have one smoke left. I pop smoke, you kill. We're in holes, you kill everything." And he popped it, and they literally expended right on top of that smoke. Brandt was going to lead me into this LZ. I ended up finding him. He turned his anti-collision light on. We jumped down. We get on the treetops. I left my other birds up, and I said, I'll mark it for you guys, and then you guys come down. Well, he is leading me, and I got right on his tail. I'm within 2 rotor discs of him. I look out, and there's trails, and you see they're firing AK and 51 cals at us, and we're taking hits. And I saw guys shooting mortars at us. I mean, not indirect fire, as direct fire weapons. Well, Khe started taking they knew that, the NBA, you get the gunship out, knock it out. They can do the little troop carrier later. So he was getting the preponderance of the fire. I was getting my fair share, but they were just tearing him up. And he got his, first he lost one hydraulic system, and he lost another one. When you lose both hydraulic systems on a Cobra, you can't move the controls. They won't fly. And the LZ was where they were. The PZ was right next to the river. And he said, "I've lost both my hydraulics." He said, "We're going in." And we told him, try and make it, just hang on to it. We're right behind him. And we stayed right behind him. And you just totally forgot about the fire at that time. And he said, "Well, I'm going to try and put it in the river." I said, "We're right behind you, buddy." Well, he kept turning. The aircraft was in a turn when he lost his last hydraulics. And they went right into the tall trees, no vegetation. Aircraft exploded when it hit. we could not hover down. We couldn't get down to them. You could see them inside the aircraft, not moving, and aircraft then just literally just blew up. And at about that stage in my life, I was ready to go home, and got a call from our CNC that the troops were at 6 o'clock, 300 meters. So we went in, locked our harnesses, picked them up, and I told John, I said, John, get light on the controls. Well, and we flew together a lot. We both locked our harness and got on the controls. We never did that before. But I said, the first time, as soon as one touches, we're gone. And we had no seats in the back. And I'm looking out the door, got a pretty good load coming. I said, okay, we're coming in, because we had a little hover hole. And I figured I could take, they were Vietnamese, they didn't have rucksacks with them. You figure you can take 10 or 11 because of the hover hole. You need some power to get up above the trees. And we were taking, there was an escarpment up, and we were taking 51 cal fire from the escarpment through our rotor blades while we're sitting there. Well, I started pulling, and the fire was really getting bad. I had a Vietnamese open my door, and I pushed him back and never did close the door. But he rode back to Khe Sanh, hanging onto my door in the post. We had guys on the skids. They just wanted out. They weren't running. They wanted out. I mean, they're all wounded. At some point, we were at 5,800 RPM, and the torque was above 60 pounds. And it's redlined at 50. And we couldn't maintain altitude, and there was nothing but trees in front of us. The crew chiefs could not shoot because they had guys hanging on their guns. And so I told them to kick some off. So we kicked 4 guys off. And we were probably 150 feet, 200 feet in. It was either all of us are going in, or some of us. And that gave us enough that we could fly. And we landed at Khe Sanh with 21 people, plus a crew of 4. Every one of them wounded. Had, one guy with no eye. I mean, just sitting there, just talking like normal. I mean, just rough. Well, there was still some more left in there, and our second bird went in to pick them up. Danny O'Livar. They shot him down coming out. He had the rest of them. 12, I believe it was. They shot him down. Well, here's these guys, no ammo. Danny crashed. It killed about 3 of them when they crashed. And the Vietnamese put up a perimeter around him with no ammo. They just set up a perimeter. He laid on his back. And this is where General Barry came in. Our CNC had to break for fuel. So General Barry, he's getting low on gas, so he's talking with Danny. Danny's laying on his back next to the aircraft, talking on FM radio with the crew chief's Y cord. And they got the 60s out, put up a little perimeter. They were taking fire on the ground. They're surrounded now. And so we started putting, I was back en route to Khe Sanh when all this was going on. But, you hear about it at night. And General Barry's got a break for gas, and he had a pretty good dialogue with Danny going on. That was one of his boys. He took a personal interest in soldiers. Mm-hmm. And he had to break for gas, and he told him, he said, whatever, he used his call sign. He said, son, I got to go for gas. And he said, I'm going to turn you over to the cab commander here. Charlie Company 2nd 17th was providing a screen cover. He said, I'm going to turn you over to him. He said, you talk to him. He said, we're going to get you out of there. And then he said, whatever the Charlie Company commander's, the troop commander's call sign was, he said, you've got him now. He said, talk to him. Well, there was silence of 10 seconds, 15 seconds. No one's talking. And General Barry, he said, he used this guy, he said, this is Big Ben. He said, I said, talk to him. What he wanted was to keep a dialogue open in case, find out what was going on. And the troop commander, he couldn't, what do you say to that guy? I mean, he'd been listening all along. We're just trying to, running rockets and machine guns and minigun and everything else around him. Took him. Our third bird tried to go in and get him and got stitched, lost his hydraulics and had to go back to Khe Sanh. So we decided, all right, we need to pull off a little bit, suppress the fire. There was a 23 millimeter that kicked up that the Cav squadron was trying to knock out. So this Cav troop commander, General Barry says, talk to him. And he goes, hey, what's going on? I mean, it's just like, he couldn't take anything else. And Danny goes, nothing. It was just that seems insignificant now, but it was humorous. It broke the ice, a lot of tension, a lot of fear, and then they started a dialogue. We got Danny back, obviously, and the fourth bird picked him up and all the Vietnamese and got him back.